You're watching ESPN's Holiday Hoops, presented by Kay Jewelers.
And welcome to Morgantown, West Virginia, here inside of WVU Coliseum. Coming up tonight, the 19th ranked West Virginia Mountaineers getting set to tangle with Eastern Kentucky out of the Ohio Valley Conference. Well, happy holidays and welcome to Morgantown alongside of Paul Biancardi, former Horizon League Coach of the Year. I am Roy Philpott. If you like scoring, well, you've come to the right game tonight. These are two of the most prolific offenses in the country, and Paul, they do it in different ways.
Eastern Kentucky lives behind the three-point line. They average 9 made threes per game, and they knock it down at 42% from distance. They're not shy about letting it fly. West Virginia scores with their defense, looking to get layups in the conversion game. If not, they'll beat you up on the glass for second chance points. Well,
the Colonels coming in at 8-5, but without their star player tonight, Jarrell Rochelle, averaging 20 and 8 coming in, also 4 dimes. Paul, this is a big loss for the Colonels.
It's a huge loss. Javante Hawkins, now their second leading scorer, has to have a big game.
We'll take a look at our starting lineups. Eastern Kentucky at 8-5. Javante Hawkins, a transfer from USF. Keep an eye on him tonight. And for West Virginia, led by Javon Carter in scoring each of the last 2 games. He's poured in 50 to face number 19 West Virginia. The Mountaineers 9-1, their lone loss to top 10 Virginia. Well, a good crowd on hand. Glad you could join us tonight. West Virginia wins the opening tap, and we are underway in Morgantown. Our veteran Big 12 officiating crew, led by Doug Sermons, has worked the past 3 Final Fours.
Look for Eastern Kentucky tonight. Start this game out in zone, play a lot of zone, and change the look of the zone. They can't handle West Virginia inside.
Devin Williams, one of the best rebounders in the country, averaging 16 and 10, the opening basket.
We see West Virginia right away on the ball pressure, face guarding at the foul line, not allowing the basketball to come in.
West Virginia leading the country in so many categories. They call it Press Virginia with the full court pressure. Very disruptive, and we see it right out of the gate. Keys for the Colonels, Paul, coming into tonight.
Well, this one's simple. You have to limit your turnovers. West Virginia leads the nation in turnovers forced, and they're going to have to protect the glass as West Virginia gets 44% of their missed shots.
Jackson down low, off the glass, down it goes for Greg King. So King replacing Rochelle in the lineup with the early hoop.
You're going to see Eastern Kentucky not slow this game down, but speed it up.
Jackson, and stripped in the paint. Here come the Mountaineers.
Colonels average 21 threes a game attempted. They're not going to be shy on letting it fly tonight.
Well, 43% from distance. That's certainly one of the best in the nation. Mountaineers picked 6 in the Big 12 this year. Williams, that's not his game, but a long 2 goes in.
Well, Bob Huggins told us that shoot-around nobody works harder than Devin Williams. He's expanded his range to about 15, 17 feet, Roy.
And the foul against Jonathan Holton, that'll be his first. For the Mountaineers, 9-1. Paul, perhaps trying to protect the basketball better than what they've done recently.
Well, the first thing they have to do, Roy, is they have to chase Eastern Kentucky off the three-point line, challenge them at the rim, make them take tough twos. And when it comes to a half-court game, don't turn it over, as you said, but be good on their zone offensive attack. West Virginia has to be careful not to fall in love with the jump shot. They're not a very good shooting team.
And it's a team that would love to turn you over, get out in transition. Colonels trailing by 2 early. McGlone for 3, that's his spot, in and out. And the battle on the offensive glass, Mayo comes up with it, and Hack going to the rim. Eastern Kentucky, led by Dan McHale in his first season. Kentucky graduates, had stops at Seton Hall, Louisville, among others along the way. Young, energetic coach. As a free throw by Mayo is put in. 79% from the line. Off to an 8-5 start. Respectable. You know they're going to be a tough out in OVC play, Paul.
There's no question about it. They brought in some new guys, some transfers. It's a team that's going to contend for the OVC championship. Jeff Neubauer, who's now at Fordham, did an outstanding job at his time at Eastern Kentucky.
Yeah, very consistent, winning 20 games a year the last couple of seasons. West Virginia basketball. The backdoor cut is open. Daxter Miles Jr. his first basket.
Devin Williams starts off the game with a jump shot from 17 and an assist. Not bad for the big fella.
We talked with him a little bit today. Two words come to mind: humble and hungry. Hawkins the answer from distance.
This guy's battle-tested, Devontae Hawkins.
Colonels averaged 9 made threes per game. Obviously, that's going to be in jeopardy tonight with Rochelle out of the lineup. But Hawkins, a big early basket, and the Colonels with a 1-point advantage.
Roy, the Colonels average 86 points a game. They shoot 50% from the floor, 43% from threes. They're a very confident offensive team.
That was rejected by Hawkins. Three-pointer by Page is off, and here comes Eastern Kentucky. Well, a fast start so far tonight for the Colonels, and here's a steal. Holton comes out of there with it. And the Mountaineers give it right back. Hawkins, a little Euro step action, and the finish in the paint.
Well, a little turnover, returnover by the Mountaineers. Bob Huggins talked about that today at shoot-around. He goes, we do a great job of forcing turnovers. The problem is, we give it back. Good example right there.
And something he wants to get corrected before Big 12 play begins in about 2 weeks. Well, hard to believe conference play is already here. It's been a magnificent start to this season. 4 upsets in the top 10 on Saturday alone in college basketball. Miles. And it pops out to Paul Jackson. King may have traveled too strong off the glass.
That's where West Virginia has to go inside. It's the strength of their team.
Page off the glass, can't connect. Here come the Colonels. Hawkins. And he promptly turns it over, and a foul in the backcourt. That'll go against Isaac McClone.
West Virginia executing early in the half court. Devin Williams to Daxter Miles on the slip. Nice.
ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball is brought to you by K Jewelers. Every kiss begins with K. And Progressive, comparing rates to help you save. Now that's Progressive.
And back in Morgantown here inside of WVU Coliseum. 9-6 our score. Eastern Kentucky the early advantage. And glad you could join us alongside of Paul Biancardi. I am Roy Philpott. And Paul, West Virginia leads the country in turnovers, force, and steals. The anatomy of a press and what they like to do. Let's talk about it.
Well, there are a few keys if you're going to be a good pressing team, and it all starts with ball pressure. You have to be tight on the ball. Don't allow any space between you and the offensive player. Deflections matter. They're important. Bob Huggins likes to chart deflections. They want to get 60 per game if possible. Steals can come from the front or the back of the pressure. Got to set tight traps. Then when the offense throws out of the trap, Roy, you got to sprint out of the trap.
In the paint, and coming up short is Javon Carter. So a fast start for Eastern Kentucky without not only its star Rochelle, but also in the backcourt, KJ Bluford, one of their top three-point shooters, is out due to a violation of team rules. And the three-pointer baseline by Weaver is off. Carter outside, an open look. Mountaineers have missed their last 5 shots.
Eastern Kentucky doing a nice job of getting back in defensive conversion. You want to make it a 5-on-5 game against West Virginia because offensively, they're a little bit challenged. They've had a lot of turnovers themselves. They don't shoot it great from the outside. So if you can get them in a slower game, in a half-court game, it can really help out your defensive field goal percentage.
Nathan Adrian checks in for the first time. Adrian, a junior from right here in Morgantown. Named to the academic All Big 12 team last year. Down low in the basket for Page. That's one thing Bob Huggins told us today, that Page has done a better job getting to the rim, that time wide open on the inbounds.
Page is really scoring the ball well. He just needs to stay on the floor. And it's too many fouls.
And the pressure starting to take its toll. Another turnover. Tariq Phillip also in. That's 12 in gold. Adrian for 3. And the lid on the rim so far for WVU.
You know, Roy, one of the last keys for a good pressing team is to stay with it. You may give up some layups. You may give up some open shots. But you're going to wear down and wear out your opponent eventually.
Adrian picks up his first personal. And the 13th foul against the Mountaineers. Well, Paul, sometimes when you have your star player out due to injury or suspension, sometimes the team kind of rallies around it. So far, Eastern Kentucky has done that.
Absolutely. They feel a little bit of desperation without their best player, Rochelle. You know, somebody usually steps up in the absence of adversity. It may be done collectively or it could be done individually.
That was King with a miss. 6 minutes in. Colonel's lead is a point.
See this 5-out offense by West Virginia. Has some flex cuts, a triangle game, a high-low game. A lot of different concepts within this 5-out motion offense.
Was Phillip trying to spring free? Excuse me, coach. And a foul will be called against Paul Jackson, his first. Anthony Pratt Jr. checks in for the first time for EKU. And Rochelle playing cheerleader this evening. Not the role he envisioned coming in, but with back spasms, head coach Dan McKell really didn't have a choice.
He can really make a difference for Eastern Kentucky this year in the OVC. A complete player from Germany, can score, rebound, gets assists, steals. Transferred from Rhode Island. Good fit.
Phillip in the paint draws the contact. And Tariq Phillip, junior out of Brooklyn, New York, at the stripe shooting too, where he's nearly 70% this season. Foul win against Hawkins.
So important for West Virginia to get to the foul line, Roy, so they can set up their press. Every time you go to the line, the game stops. You have a chance to set up your pressure. Whether it's going to be full court or half court, Bob Huggins likes to change his look. But on made free throws, they've been on the ball, face guarding, denying the first pass.
Well, so many times you see teams that operate in full court pressure, and really is kind of the same thing each and every possession. With WVU, it really is going to morph as the game progresses, isn't it?
Yeah, the press will reshape itself throughout the possession and throughout the game.
Hawkins down low to Pratt. Good ball movement. Bab Harrison for 3, and a big basket from distance. Now shooting 43% from bonus land this year is Jalen Bab Harrison, the junior from Ontario.
You know, the shot fake, Roy, created the space. Eastern Kentucky is going to shoot the 3 all game long. The question is, will they make it? If they can make double-figure threes, they can pull off the upset.
Mountaineers facing their biggest deficit so far tonight. 3-pointers short. And Weaver clears. Well, EKU was picked 3rd in the OVC East Division behind Belmont and Morehead State. So Colonels turn it over.
Bab Harrison. Watch the shot fake. Lifts the defender, creates the space, the step back. Pure.
And silky smooth on that sequence. We saw this with West Virginia last week against Marshall in a game that was played in Charleston. The Mountaineers perhaps got off to a slow start. Second half started to get things rolling, the pressure taking its toll, Paul. So not uncommon.
And you see Eastern Kentucky in a 2-3 zone, trying to slow the pace down of this game from a defensive end.
Phillip inside with a hoop, averaging nearly 6 points per game this season. And more full court pressure.
Nice job by West Virginia. Just not settling for a jump shot, but getting close to the basket against the zone.
Outside Weaver. Too strong and rebounded by Williams, who just checked back in. And the foul will be called against Pratt. Pratt, just a freshman and just off the bench, picks up his first. Oh, Bob Huggins in his 9th season, what a remarkable job he has done. Took the Mountaineers to the 2010 Final Four. You see the overall record. His teams normally exceed preseason expectations.
All the time. You know, when you look at a Bob Huggins type team. They're always so well coached. They play so hard. And what happens is he makes practices harder than the games. So the games are easy. I mean, he's not Mr. Positive now, but he lifts his guys up through hard work and through intensity. And he'll get on guys and tell it the way it is.
Beautiful pass down low. Williams with the point-blank miss. So off the putback, the Mountaineers cannot connect. Beautiful ball movement once again for the Colonels as Jackson will back it out. 8 minutes in here in Morgantown. Pratt down low, Bab Harrison. And Jalen Bab Harrison shooting free throws. When we come back, the lead is 2 for the Colonels here in Morgantown. A fast start out of the OVC. Capital One Bowl season rolls on, and we've got the famous Idaho Potato Bowl, Akron, Utah State, coming up Tuesday at 3:30 Eastern. Then at 7, number 24 Temple and Toledo, and the Marmot Boca Raton Bowl. Paul, it truly is the most wonderful time of the year. Both games also streaming live on Watch ESPN.
I'll tell you what's wonderful, Roy. Eastern Kentucky shoots it at 43% from distance. They come out hot here in West Virginia. Javante Hawkins, the transfer from South Florida. And a little conversion game by Eastern Kentucky. Javante Hawkins with the layup. Now they go inside, out. Bab Harrison with the shot fake. He's comfortable and confident behind the arc.
Mountaineers 0 for 6 from distance to start this one. You see the numbers for Eastern Kentucky. When it comes to scoring, this is one of the best teams you'll see this year.
They just look like a team that's not afraid to shoot the ball, and that comes from their coach, Dan McHale. He obviously allows them the freedom to shoot it, to drive it, to play fast. Defensively, their numbers are not very good. They don't rebound well, and they don't guard well. Tonight, they've been very good so far in their zone defense.
The Colonels have held the lead since the 17:48 mark here in the first half, and Dan McHale's got to be very pleased with his start. Playing without 2 key players, including his star, Jarrell Rochelle.
Don't forget, he's under the Rick Pitino tree, so they love the three-point shot. Got Rick Pitino, Kevin Willard at Seton Hall, Richard Pitino, Minnesota, doing a great job.
Carter working against Jackson, nearly coughs it up.
Now it's a sagging man-to-man for Eastern Kentucky, just trying to change their defense a little bit, trying to slow down West Virginia in the half-court set.
5 on the shot clock. Ahmad, baseline, way short, and the put-in. Ready and waiting was Jonathan Holton, the senior from Miami.
West Virginia grabbed 44% of their misses, second in the nation to Louisville.
Pratt, the quick trigger, back iron. 2-point lead for Eastern Kentucky. Williams in the paint. Carter for 3. And Javon Carter, the sophomore. Well, if he gets that outside shot going this year, Paul, West Virginia that much more difficult to beat.
An outstanding defender, Javon Carter. And you mentioned it, Roy, when he can knock down threes, that can open up the offensive world for West Virginia.
Mountaineers with a 1-point lead. Timeout for Eastern Kentucky. Jonathan Holton, the putback moments ago. And this is what WVU loves to do.
When you see Holton one in the goal, just wedging his way inside for the tip-in. And a little drive and kick. Javon Carter. Love the way his feet were set. His hands were calling for the ball, Roy. Didn't say a word, but he showed his hands. He was ready to shoot it.
Have to love that in terms of fundamentals, but this is a player that was all Big 12 defensive team last year. Set the freshman record for steals here in Morgantown. You start getting the offense they've gotten out of him the last 2 games, in particular, where he scored 50 points combined.
And when you look at his numbers, 45% of his attempts are threes. He's taken 98 shots, 45 have been from behind the arc.
And here is another near steal. 3 players hit the deck, jump ball. Arrow favors Eastern Kentucky. And how many times have we seen over the years, Paul, where West Virginia comes out, maybe the press isn't that effective right out of the gate, but the total effect later on, like what we saw against Marshall last week, just starts to wear the opposition down.
Because West Virginia is not going to change who they are.
And a foul on the screen as Pratt picks up his second.
Offensive foul whistled on 33.
Roy, when you press all game and you have great athletes and you're committed to it, you're going to wear people down. A little moving screen. Yep, right there. Good call by the official. Anthony Pratt with a little hip check.
And remember, too, there's been 25 new rule changes introduced this year in college basketball. The directives to increase freedom of movement, reduce physicality in the post. Carter off the glass. And the putback for Holton, who now has 4.
For the shots they don't make from the outside, West Virginia. They score from their defense or from the offensive glass.
Another turnover. That will be the 7th against Eastern Kentucky. And approaching the halfway point of this first half, the Mountaineers' pressure perhaps ahead of schedule.
Well, it makes you think. Makes you think twice, actually. When do I pick it up? When do I pass it? Who do I pass it to? They really try to speed you up and make you uncomfortable.
Williams outside to Carter. Ahmad. We just get the sense Devin Williams can get almost any rebound he wants. Carter for 3. Now with 6 points.
As beautiful as that shot was, I love his dribble penetration and kick. Slowing himself down on offense, but speeding himself up on defense.
7-0 run for the Mountaineers in the last 60 seconds.
That was a good offensive possession by the Mountaineers. They took their time, they read the defense, made the right play.
Jackson nearly trapped. Nick Mayo's had a tremendous start to his freshman campaign out of Maine for Eastern Kentucky. 3 on the shot clock. Hawkins from 30. And the rebound controlled by Greg King, who misses the dunk, but the whistle blows, and King will shoot a pair of free throws. Well, the offense for WVU in sync here early.
Well, the shot fake, the drive, the jump stop, another shot fake, the kick, wide open shot. That's a great offensive possession. Right back to Carter. He's ready to knock it down and does so.
Foul when it gets Holton, his second. King not a good free throw shooter. Now just 8 of 23 this season at the line.
Talking to Bob Huggins earlier today, you know, he mentioned, I love the way we defend. I love the way we're aggressive. We just got to slow down on offense and think the game a little bit more. You know, that's a big transition, Roy. When you press and you're aggressive on defense, then you have to play with pace on offense. You have to think the game while you play the game.
King misses 2. West Virginia, 7 offensive rebounds already, 12 total points, dominating the glass. And inside a foul called against Eastern Kentucky. Powell picks up his first. And West Virginia down the bonus from here on out. No-look dish inside. Ahmad the finish. Well, you love Isa Ahmad's game. We were talking about it earlier today, Paul. This is a guy with a world of potential.
A former ESPN top 100 player from the state of Ohio.
Mountaineers now on a 12-0 run. Hawkins the jump stop and the finish at the rim.
Devontae Hawkins, transfer from South Florida. He's not afraid of this situation. He's battle-tested, he's aggressive, and he knows he has to step it up tonight without Jarrell Rochelle, the leading scorer from Eastern Kentucky.
And for just joining us, Rochelle and also KJ Bluford out for Eastern Kentucky. Two of the top three-point shooters in the OVC. 5 on the shot clock. And back iron the miss. Here come the Colonels. More than 12 minutes in. Eastern Kentucky hanging around. But use a basket here, and Hawkins provides exactly that.
What I love about the way Hawkins plays on offense, he can shoot the three, drive it to the rim. He has a pull-up jump shot, and he gives you a little bit of everything when it comes to scoring. He can do it from different spots on the floor. He's not locked into one spot.
Junior out of Flint, Michigan, now with 9 points. Miles for three.
Young man from Baltimore, Maryland, Dunbar High School.
Lead is 7 for WVU. Jackson, a bounce pass, and King, boy, he attacks the rim. We've seen that a couple of times tonight. Can't connect, but he'll shoot 2 when we come back. Javonte Hawkins with 9 early points can do it in so many different ways. He can take you inside and out. The step back 3, no, this time towards the rim. And the transfer from USF, they'll need more out of him for Eastern Kentucky, who trails by 7. Well, the NBA on Christmas Day tradition continues on ABC and ESPN with 5 of the best gifts. Well, I mean games that anybody could ask for. Starts at noon Eastern on ESPN. All games also streaming live on Watch ESPN. Paul, how about Cleveland, Golden State, and a rematch from last year's NBA Finals? Steph Curry versus LeBron James, and now a healthy Kyrie Irving. That'll be interesting.
That would be real interesting. And Kyrie Irving make a big difference on that team, just facilitating and making open shots, taking the pressure off LeBron a little bit.
'Tis the season. They're calling this ugly sweater night. The ugly Christmas sweaters are in play with a lot of the fans, and maybe your tie too. I'm not really sure.
The tie's not too good tonight, but it's a Christmas tie, but I'm not wearing an ugly sweater, I can tell you that.
Macon checks in for the first time for West Virginia. 14 on the shot clock. It's a 6-point lead for the 19th ranked Mountaineers.
Constantly looking inside West Virginia on this triangle action. Look at the duck in.
Making the miss with the left hand, out of bounds. It'll stay with the Mountaineers.
Like the patience by West Virginia. Looking inside, not there. Get it to the top, reverse it to the other side, move the defense, punch it inside.
I mentioned this earlier, but West Virginia picked 6 in the preseason poll in the Big 12. It's hard to imagine 5 other teams better than this one in that conference. And then you look at the national rankings. As another 3 goes in for Javon Carter, his 3rd here in the first half. Well, the Big 12, once again, one of the top conferences in the country. Think about Iowa State, George Niang, KU, Oklahoma, and the job that Lon Kruger has done, tremendous.
And Roy, I think Texas is going to outplay their ranking. Had a chance to go down there for practice this year. Shaka Smart, team starting to come together. Big win at Stanford, at home against Carolina.
Air ball thrown up by King. That was an enormous one.
I think the Longhorns are loaded, and they're starting to get comfortable with their new head coach.
Down low, Dexter Miles Jr. sends it out of bounds, looking for the contact. No whistle.
They have size with Prince Ebay, Cam Ridley. Connor Lambert can shoot her from the outside as a big. Freshman Eric Davis, Kerwin Roach, and how about Felix from distance? I mean, they have a lot of pieces.
Under 6 minutes to play here in a fast-moving first half in Morgantown. Paul Biancardi, Roy Philpott on hand. Glad you could join us tonight. Some holiday hoops. Rare miss for Carter. And the rebound cleared by Eastern Kentucky. That's Hawkins. Well, you get that full court pressure even off a missed basket.
You get it when you get off the bus. I mean, this is non-stop, relentless pressure by West Virginia. And they're going to do it all game, every game. They may back it up a little bit, but they're coming after you.
And Mayo down low. The foul called on the back pocket. Go against WVU. And Eastern Kentucky now in the bonus. Dexter Miles Jr. picks up his 2nd personal. Well, Nick Mayo's gotten off to a fantastic start. He's been the OVC Freshman of the Week 3 times already. And shooting 59% from the field. Not easy for a first-year player, but breaks a free throw.
Actually, Roy, he got named again the Freshman of the Week, so that's his 4th. Just want to get you that social media update. Outstanding, that young man.
We'll give him his credit for a strong start in his first season.
He reminds me a little bit of Thomas Welsh, a UCLA big man who can pick and pop.
Jayshawn Page off the glass and the finger roll. Again, that's one thing Bob Huggins told us today, that he loves how Page is attacking the rim with more frequency. He's always been an outstanding shooter. Carter for 3. And Adrian the rebound. For the unselfish play, a rainbow tray. And a timeout called by Dan McHale. Raining threes here in Morgantown. The Mountaineers all over Eastern Kentucky in the blink of an eye. .427 remaining here in our first half. The lead is 14 for number 19, WVU. Thank you very much, Anish and Adrian. Back here in Morgantown, Paul Biancardi, Roy Philpott. The lead is 14 for number 19, West Virginia. As we take you inside the play, Coach.
Jump shot by West Virginia, the miss. The offensive board by Nathan Adrian. Look at the defense. They're looking at the basketball. That's why everybody talks about shooting a three-point shot off an offensive rebound. The defense doesn't know where to go. The offense does. West Virginia with 5 made threes in this game so far.
They've also scored on 9 of their last 11 possessions. 17 second chance points already as well for the Mountaineers. Jackson directing traffic, turns it over. 3-on-2. Carter in the paint. Glides but cannot finish. And the foul against the Colonels. Mountaineers will be shooting free throws and some extracurricular activity. As Jayshawn Page had something to say.
That was a live ball turnover by Eastern Kentucky. Right at the foul line. Those are the ones that the Mountaineers want, because they can take those, convert them into points in about 3 or 4 dribbles. When you drive against West Virginia and there's traffic, you got to back it out, space it out, and move the ball. You got to keep them on defense as long as you can.
Watch this last sequence. Elbow comes flying in. A little chippiness there from Page. You know, this West Virginia team, Paul, you got to say this, when they've got a chip on their shoulder and that pressure's working, they're playing their best basketball. You talk to Bob Huggins, you feel like that's there at times from him as well. He's probably going to get the max effort out of his team. Everybody's on that same page.
Well, he says he loves coaching this team because his players have enthusiasm. They love to play the game. They love to play this style of basketball, and they want to do it all game long. They never want to let up when it comes to pressure.
Skip pass from Carter. Phillip thought about it. Outside to Page. Count it. 6 made three-pointers for WVU already.
Jason Page. He's averaging 10 points a game in only 15 minutes. He needs to stay in the game longer. The problem is he gets in early foul trouble. They have to take him out.
And the foul, Jackson hits the deck. That'll go against Adrian, his second. They'll send Jackson to the stripe 70% this season. A sophomore from the Peach State. So Eastern Kentucky, Paul, was out to a 12-8 lead. Since then, it's been all Mountaineers. 29-7 run.
It's so important for Eastern Kentucky. I know this sounds simple, but not to turn it over. Back it out when you don't have an open shot. When they get open shots, they started this game hot from behind the line.
And the front end is missed.
Right now, Eastern Kentucky looks like a team that's not sure whether or not to attack anymore. They came out early. They were very aggressive. And now they're kind of thinking about it.
It's saved by Myers. Junior college transfer out of Brooklyn.
There's that triangle game by West Virginia. 1 at the foul line, 2 on the blocks.
Phillip for 3. Now just a 24% shooter from behind the three-point arc this year.
From New York City. They like to drive it.
Page applying the pressure. It's out of bounds. It'll stay with the Colonels. With a rainbow three-pointer here, Paul.
Well, they're in their triangle set. The ball goes into the post. They recognize the double team. Quick throw out. Tariq Phillip is ready to shoot the basketball. That's so huge. If you want to be a great shooter, be ready to shoot it.
Mountaineers 7 of 16 now from bonus land. Could have been an offensive foul on Jackson. No whistle. Good closeout by Myers. Missed by Bab Harrison. Mayo battling. Brandon Watkins out of bounds. It'll stay with the Colonels.
On the glass. A little volleyball action. West Virginia is so big, so strong, so athletic. Look at Devin Williams, 41 in the gold. I saw him in high school, and Roy, those shoulders are wider right now than they were in high school. He's wide up top, and his waist is cut.
Told Coach Huggins he reminded me a little bit of a yield sign. That makes any sense. Three-pointer short, a rare miss for the Mountaineers. Outside, back to Page, and connects this time. Oh, Jayshawn Page.
Well, he knocks it down at 42%. But they're open shots, and they're in rhythm.
Back iron for Bab Harrison. All WVU here under 2 minutes of play in the first half. Page again. Why not? Another timeout for Dan McHale. And this crowd into it here in Morgantown. And a reminder coming up, it is the New Year's Six, two of the greatest days for college football fans. It all starts at noon Eastern, New Year's Eve on ESPN. Then at 4 and 8, the playoff semifinal games between #1 Clemson and 4th-ranked Oklahoma, plus Michigan State and Alabama. And then on New Year's Day, 3 more tremendous games to kick off 2016. All games are on ESPN and streaming live as well on Watch ESPN. The West Virginia Mountaineers red hot from distance, already with 9 made threes in this first half ball.
Well, they come into this game only shooting 30% behind the arc. The shots are open. They're from the extra pass. They're from the inside-out game. And right now, West Virginia has a lot of confidence in their outside jump shot.
Quickly ahead to Hawkins. Tries to go coast to coast and stripped. Oh, what a play by Phillip.
Outstanding hustle by Tariq Phillip.
Largest lead of the night for West Virginia, 46-19, 90 seconds remaining. Eight on the shot clock. Here's Watkins. Mountaineers have scored on their last 7 possessions. Watkins will turn it over on the shot clock violation.
So Bob Huggins, they're shooting 47% from distance. He's not happy with that turnover. He says, we got to clean up our turnovers. We're not passing and catching very well. We're not thinking the game. But I'll tell you what, they're shooting lights out tonight.
Just the 3rd overall meeting between these two teams. First since 2012. There's a basket, the floater, as Bab Harrison connects. And he now has 7 points to lead the Colonels. Boy, tumble into the stands, and that was dangerous for Hawkins. Appears to be okay. It always makes you nervous if you're a coach or really just a fan, Paul.
Going against, oh, look at that hustle right there. LeBron hurt somebody.
Jason Day's wife.
Yeah, front row. Not me, I'm going to sit up in the luxury box.
There's a steal and a 5-second difference between the game clock and the shot clock. Weaver whip it around. Bab Harrison for 3. And the quick trigger. McHale imploring his team to just play for 1, the foul. And there'll be a pair of free throws coming up. Already facing a 25-point deficit here is Eastern Kentucky.
Offensively, they're moving the ball. I love the way they're trying to make the extra pass for the open shot. Right now, the threes are not falling very well for Eastern Kentucky, but they're still stepping up to that line, Roy, playing their game.
Hawkins now with 10. If you're Dan McHale, back to the locker room at halftime with work to do coming up in the final 20 minutes. Again, he's without his top player, Jarrell Rochelle, averaging 20 points and 8 boards coming in, is missing this one with back spasms.
Well, defensively, Eastern Kentucky's trying to pack it in, double the post. West Virginia's doing a great job of throwing it back out. Now they have 7 made threes.
All right, so Bob Huggins calls a timeout here. What's he telling his team with this kind of lead under 20 seconds to play?
Let's take a 3. We're hot from 3.
Now West Virginia coming in ranked 19th. Look at the Big 12, rough and rugged again, right now ranked number 1 in the latest RPI. 5 teams right now fall with 1 loss or less. Also 5 teams ranked in the updated AP Top 25. Again, this could be the best conference in the country, right up there with the ACC or any other league.
When I look at this conference, I say to each team, you better win your home games, because going on the road in the Big 12, I think, is the toughest league in college basketball when you go on the road. I think Big 10's right there second. But you go to Oklahoma, you go to Iowa State, you go to Kansas, it's tough to walk out of there with a win.
See the top 25 teams by league right there with the ACC.
And the ACC to me is top heavy this year. I mean, there's a lot of teams in the middle that are so-so, and the bottom right now is okay, but that Big 12.
And inside, the whistle blows.
And teams like, I'm sorry, Ray, teams like Kansas State and TCU, they're not, you know, Oklahoma State, they're not going to be easy outs.
At Kansas State with Justin Edwards, a great job he's done transferring in for Maine. It's a team that'll battle you, especially at home. Bruce Weber, of course, always doing a tremendous job. There's no easy outs in the Big 12.
And Tubby Smith, you have a Final Four coach at Texas Tech. In fact, this league has a bunch of Final Four coaches. You look at it, Oklahoma with Lon Kruger, Bob Huggins here from West Virginia, Bill Self, Shaka Smart. It's a coaching league, and it's a players league.
6.1 seconds remaining. Phillip will get the second free throw. Bob Huggins took West Virginia to the Final Four back in 2010. He's made a couple of Sweet 16 runs as well. And with this team, they certainly passed the eye test. Getting off the bus, they're going to press you. They can score, obviously. Devin Williams down low.
They just don't pass the ball very well. They pass the eye test well.
That's right, at least according to Bob. 26-point lead, another turnover, and the finish. Issa Ahmad with authority. And what a way to close out a very strong first half.
Well, the freshman, Issa Ahmad, coming down the lane. Sports Center, top 10.
Our halftime score, West Virginia 50, Eastern Kentucky 22. We now send you to Anish Shroff and Adrian Branch in the studio for the Kay Jewelers halftime report. Look at the stats backing that up. You see the numbers. 9 of 19 from three-point range, and the second chance points, 21-3, killing Eastern Kentucky right now on the glass.
That's where West Virginia does its damage. From the press, forcing turnovers and on the glass. The three-point shots, it's a bonus. Must be an early Christmas for Bob Huggins from his team.
It certainly feels that way. And how about this? Some former coach ball, you'll appreciate these numbers. 19 made field goals by the Mountaineers in the first 20 minutes, 15 assists with those 19 made baskets.
Well, you can see West Virginia not only making the pass, Roy, but making the extra pass to the open man.
Inside, King pokes it away. Trying to spot Devin Williams. Well, Williams only scored 4 points in that first half. Just 3 field goal opportunities. Really didn't need to do much more.
And they were double teaming Devin Williams, Eastern Kentucky. When he would catch the ball, he'd see a quick double, recognize it, and threw it out.
Yeah, he's been the leading scorer and rebounder this year for WVU. In fact, started the season with 5 straight double-doubles. Opening possession of our second half, Mountaineers basketball. Moving up to now number 19 in the country. After a 9-1 start, trying to make it 10-1 tonight.
Let's see if Eastern Kentucky will come back with confidence, as they did to start this game from the outside.
Mayo hangs, drives, and finishes the N1 opportunity. Nick Mayo, the freshman from Maine, Gatorade Player of the Year in Maine a season ago, and a big basket here.
Nick Mayo leads this team in offensive rebounds and blocks. Shoots 83% from the line. He's got a chance right now for the N1.
Now, you told us in the first half, Paul, too, 4 times already the OVC Freshman of the Week. That's one thing you take away from the night as well. Eastern Kentucky going out of conference here in the Big 12. Picked 3rd in the Eastern Division of the OVC. They've got some players that are going to be matchup nightmares. And again tonight playing without Rochelle, their top scorer.
I mean, it's hard to go on the road without your best player. Then you're going to go against a team where you have to pass and catch and be good on offense against West Virginia. Jarrell Rochelle would have been able to help beat the pressure and score against it. At 19 points a game, almost 4 assists per game, and 2 steals. It's going to be tough on the road.
Back spasms tonight. Not only is Rochelle out, but KJ Bluford. As a basket's good, so the answer by Dexter Miles Jr.
No, but as a coach, Roy, I look at it for other opportunities for other players. Bab Harrison did pretty well in the first half, made some shots. Weaver, the freshman, has to play a lot in this game. Greg King got a start, big 6'7" sophomore. So guys are going to get more playing time with Rochelle out.
A quick look there, Dan McHale, as Hawkins saves it outside to Mayo. McHale just in his first season, placing Jeff Neubauer, who left to go to Fordham. There's a 3. McClone with a basket. He shoots 55% from 3-point range this year.
Isaac McClone, excellent spot-up shooter. Over 80% of his shots are threes. You got to chase him off the line. Now, if you're West Virginia, you can't fall asleep on the 3-point line. You got to continue to chase the Colonials off that 3-point line.
Williams double teamed again. Skip pass to Adrian, knocked out of bounds, and the foul will be called. I'm just thinking back to Ohio Valley Conference play again. You got this 3-point shooting team in Eastern Kentucky against, let's say, Belmont and Craig Bradshaw, the preseason player of the year. The way Rick Bird's teams love to shoot the 3. There'll be some fun games in that conference this year.
And then you got Murray State, who still is going to play fast and press. And that league is highly underrated. We've done a few games in the past, and some talented players come out of that league.
No doubt about it. Mountaineers just 3 out of 7 at the stripe, make it 4 out of 8.
And here comes that press, full court, and full court denial.
And Bob Huggins not interested in calling off the Dogs. This is what they do. You've got to find a way to beat it. And a timeout called by the Colonels. Eastern Kentucky out of timeouts. It's all Mountaineers here in Morgantown. On ugly Christmas sweater night back in Morgantown. Yeah, the fans getting into it. Roy Philpott, Paul Biancardi, courtside. Glad you could join us. It has been all Mountaineers as Holiday Hoops continues. Presented by Kay Jewelers, 53-28 the score. We've been talking about Press Virginia, this full court pressure employed by Bob Huggins. How do you attack what he likes to do, Paul?
Well, the first thing you have to do is expect it. Know that it's coming and coming all game long. And you have to embrace it. You can't run away from it. Be organized. Get to your spots. Make multiple cuts. You're going to have to screen. Spacing is so important. You don't want to catch the ball in the corners. And then when you beat it, Roy, you want to beat it to score. And for Eastern Kentucky, that may be a 3-point shot.
11 turnovers so far for Eastern Kentucky. Nearly the 12th as Hawkins corrals it. And attacks the rim. He'll dish it off to Mayo. Inside to King, who misses. Williams with a rebound.
Good job by Eastern Kentucky to break the pressure, look to score, just couldn't finish.
Free throw line extended. Williams short. And a foul inside against the Mountaineers. I'll go against Adrian, his 3rd.
Number 11, Adrian called for the foul, his third team foul.
Just over 2 minutes in here in the second half. West Virginia's final game before the holidays commence later this week. Jackson will beat the pressure here.
Yeah, now back it out. You beat it. You can't score. Back it out. Good. Put West Virginia on the defensive and move the ball.
And there's a steal. Quickly ahead to Adrian. The Miles Jr. off the glass.
Well, Jackson, freshman, sophomore guard, excuse me, just dribbled right into a soft trap. You dribble into 2 guys against West Virginia, guess what? They're going to trap you. It's going to be a tight trap.
Hawkins in traffic. Does not get the bounce, but a tip in by King. King now with 5 points on 2 field goals.
A lot of playing time for King in this game without Jarrell Rochelle, their top player. Gets a chance to cover Devin Williams. That's no Christmas present.
Yeah. Happy holidays to him, right? Williams operating against King. Will spot Miles. What a passing. On target tonight as Ahmad draws the contact.
Good-looking freshman for the Mountaineers, Issa Ahmad, a former ESPN top 100 player. Played his high school basketball, Shaker Heights, summer basketball, all Ohio Red. This guy can pass it. And coming into this game, Roy, 25 assists, only 15 turns. Pretty good for a freshman.
We saw that dunk as well at the buzzer at the end of the first half. He's got some athleticism, some hops. Watkins checks back in for West Virginia as Williams and also Tavon Myers go to the bench.
Speaking to assistant coach Ronnie Everhart for Bob Huggins, he said Ahmad just has to be more aggressive. He's always looking to pass the ball. Yes, he's a good passer.
Right.
We need him to score more in the front court.
Well, how about Bob Huggins' staff, Paul? We were talking about this earlier today. 64 years of Division I head coaching experience on his staff right now.
And Ronnie Everhart, the former head coach at Duquesne, McNeese State. And Billy Hahn, the former head coach at LaSalle. And Larry Harrison from Hartford. He's got a lot of experience on that staff. They know how to recruit. They know how to coach, help make game adjustments. Very valuable to Bob Huggins.
27-point lead for the Mountaineers. It was 28 at halftime. And the no-look dish, the flush, that's King.
Great pass by Mayo. I mean, he's 6'9". Little catch, little bounce. He has a chance to be the OVC Freshman of the Year, in my opinion.
Oh, certainly.
He's got size, he's got skill. He's got good passing instincts.
Foul inside, and Ahmad be shooting free throws when we return. Now back in Morgantown after this, Issa Ahmad, a former ESPN Top 100 player, can do so many different things, but here, King the flush. New Year's Eve on ESPN, it's the college football playoff, the semifinals, the games we've been waiting on all season. First at 4, the Capital One Orange Bowl. Number 4, Oklahoma battles top-ranked Clemson. Then at 8, number 3, Michigan State, and second-ranked Alabama in the Goodyear Cotton Bowl Classic. It truly is the most wonderful time of the year. All games on ESPN, streaming live on the ESPN app. Deshaun Watson and Clemson number 1 against Baker Mayfield in Oklahoma. What a matchup that's going to be.
I got Clemson.
You got Clemson?
In that game and winning the national championship.
How about that? Paul being Cardi on the Dabo Sweeney train right now.
Never go with the team that wins the Heisman Trophy. So Alabama's out.
Okay.
Okay, so Deshaun Watson, 3rd in the voting.
Right.
Little chip on his shoulder. National champion.
I like the football knowledge, my friend. How about that? You've been paying attention this fall.
Watching you on TV.
Ahmad buries the first of 2. Lead is 26. It's been all WVU if you're just tuning in. After trailing 12-8 early, it was a 18-1 run, creating some separation. Offensive board, that's Macon.
West Virginia just lives on the offensive glass. Half-court offense looks real good tonight, Roy.
Ahmad inside, and whip it out to Page, who had 17 in the first 20 minutes. 19 is his career high. And off the side of the glass here. Quickly ahead, Mayo the finish.
Great pass by Paul Jackson. Head up, eyes up. Haven't been a lot of easy baskets for Eastern Kentucky tonight. And they're not a great defensive team. They need to get better, Eastern Kentucky. But for West Virginia, it's a great confidence game from an offensive standpoint.
Mayo now with 7 points. Watkins trying to direct some traffic, sends it out to Page. And Macon not ready for that pass. Well, Nick Mayo, 4 times he's been the OVC Freshman of the Week.
He just beats everybody down the floor for West Virginia, but how about that pass from Paul Jackson? One dribble, snaps it up ahead. Mayo catches and flushes.
Jackson's made 10 starts this year, averaging just over 6 points per contest. 17 points off a turnover so far for the Mountaineers. Press Virginia, as they like to say.
Nice job by Eastern Kentucky. Beating the pressure, taking it back out.
McClone, Powell for 3.
But at least they got a look and didn't turn it over. And that was a wide open look. That's their game, 3-point shooting. You have to know when to attack pressure and when to back it out against pressure.
Spin by Ahmad, down low to Macon. Triple team. And the early whistle, King, among others, crashing down. Well, you talk about Press Virginia and the different categories that they lead the country in. We're talking about national numbers here, not just the Big 12. Very impressive, Paul.
Well, it's hard to play against. Super impressive. And what's not on those statistics is deflections. Bob Huggins and his staff, they chart deflections. They equate it to being alert defensively. They're looking for 60 deflections a game, but that's how they win games. Steals, turnovers forced, and that offensive glass, they just beat you up.
It's funny talking to Bob Huggins this week as well. His team also has been tremendous in 3-point defense, leading the nation there in that category. And he said, you know what, guys, just aren't making shots against us right now. It's nothing we're doing differently compared to a season ago.
Well, he's getting into the legs of the shooter, I can tell you that.
Yeah.
When you press all game long, fatigue sets in. The jump shot becomes a little short, and you don't make those threes as much in the second half as you do in the first. Hall of Fame coach someday, in my opinion, Bob Huggins. You look at some of the guys that are in college basketball right now. Think about Bill Self as being a Hall of Famer someday. Tom Izzo, Michigan State. Bo Ryan, who just resigned. These guys have done wonders at the programs they've been at.
Jackson against Page. 9 on the shot clock. Somehow keeps that one alive. The foul is called as Jackson hits the deck once again. He's been all over the place tonight.
Jackson's quick, and he's fast. Gets low to the ground, takes a big-time bump. Need his teammate to help him up. That hurts. When you get against West Virginia at the rim, you're going to get hurt.
How would you assess their half-court defense with what you've seen here tonight? We know about the pressure full court. Their half-court D against a very explosive Eastern Kentucky team. What have you seen?
They've done a good job, West Virginia. They've extended out on the shooters. You know, they've closed the gaps against the drive. You know, they're not in a pack line help. What I'm impressed about West Virginia tonight, not a lot of fouls committed. In the first half, they only committed 7 fouls. So that's a great sign for West Virginia because they play an aggressive style, even in the half court. They trap you in the half court. They're up in your chest. You know, they don't give you much space.
That's been a concern for Bob Huggins this year.
Yes.
With the new rules. He's told us several times, you know, we haven't really been sure how to respond. As the officials get used to it, we get used to it. Nearly a shot clock violation, but bailed out by the whistle.
Tell you what, great initial help by Anthony Pratt on that drive. But they couldn't pick up the loose ball. West Virginia does. That's what they're great at, getting on the floor, beating you to the basketball, basically out-hustling you. Because if they don't, they have to deal with Bob Huggins after the game. You don't want to.
Nobody wants that.
Nobody wants that.
Macon back at the line, 47% this year. The foul called on Pratt. And nobody wants to deal with a grumpy Bob Huggins.
That's what he said today. Tell you what, his teams get better, his players get better, knows just the right buttons to push, and he's not afraid to tell them the way he sees it. A lot of coaches may be afraid to manage egos, not Bob Huggins.
So with that in mind, you got to think about the Mountaineers in the Big 12 pick 6 this year. Based off what I've seen, I got to think they're better than that, right? Now, I know about Iowa State and Kansas and Oklahoma.
In Kansas and Oklahoma,
elite.
1-2, 2-1, however you want to put it. Oklahoma has a chance, I think, to take down the king, Kansas, this year. I really like Texas at 3 or 4, and I'd put West Virginia right at that 5th spot after what I've seen so far. I think Baylor's much better than what you've seen against Texas A&M.
Watkins a putback, and Brandon Watkins the basket. Right place, right time, and a strong finish.
How'd you like that shooter for Baylor I told you about, King McClure?
He's got a sweet stroke. Struggled against Texas A&M in the game that we had Saturday night. There's a 3. Speaking of the long ball, Powell the hoop. Senior from Connecticut has scored in double figures twice this year. I think Baylor's right there in that mix as well. I'm curious to see what happens with Iowa State after its first loss, the upset to Northern Iowa. First-year head coach, where do the Cyclones go from here? They certainly have star power.
And they have experience. And George Niang, senior of that team, they play through him. Smart, can score.
Myers for 3. You got to like West Virginia, Paul, this second half. That's the first three-point shot that it has attempted. Now 10 of 20 for the game. Bob Huggins telling his team at halftime, you know what, that was great. Let's work on our offense, our half-court sets perhaps a little bit more.
What I love about West Virginia, they're not playing the score, they're playing the game. They're not looking up and seeing how many points they're up. Look at that, you don't get on the floor when you're looking at the score.
Tavon Myers, the junior from Brooklyn, a junior college transfer. His first basket of the night. West Virginia 10 of 20 from downtown. And it is all Mountaineers here in Morgantown. All Mountaineers back here at Morgantown. Paul Biancardi, Roy Philpott on hand. Holiday Hoops presented by K Jewelers continues with Oregon and Alabama, a Pac-12 SEC matchup. That game will be played over at Legacy Arena in Birmingham. Will the Ducks continue to ride the tide in their second ever meeting? Stay tuned to find out, Paul. You saw the Crimson Tide under first-year head coach Avery Johnson a few weeks ago against Clemson. They pulled out some upsets so far.
Well, they beat Notre Dame. They beat Wichita State. I mean, if you're looking for an early SEC Coach of the Year, it's Avery Johnson.
You think?
No question about it. They're playing at a faster pace. They're playing with a lot more confidence. 3 right there by Jackson. They're defending, and right now, Avery Johnson has them believing in themselves.
Upset Wichita State. Mentioned the 1-point victory against Clemson. That was
Notre Dame.
Notre Dame as well. Off the steal, Jalen Babb Harrison. Over to Hawkins for 3. So Eastern Kentucky back within 21.
No quitting this team. They're going to come down. They're going to fire the 3s. If they make them, they'll make a run. If not, they could get blown out even worse. But they're not going to stop playing this style of play.
Foul inside will go against Pratt. That's going to be his 4th, working against Devin Williams.
And right now, if you're West Virginia, you just can't fall asleep. You can't just play to a 21-point lead and think it's over.
Paul, Mountaineers now in the bonus, and 4 substitutions made by Bob Huggins. So keeping the energy alive out there on the floor. And this is a great opportunity, one of your last tune-ups before Big 12 play begins, to get some reserves, some much-needed playing time, and see what they're made of, right?
Absolutely. You get a playing experience. You know, you're trying to develop your bench for a long season. Here's an opportunity for guys to show what they can do and say, hey, Hugs, I can play in these games.
Well, the Mountaineers, of course, in the Big 12, ranked 19th in the country coming in, moving up a spot in this week's updated poll. Challenging conference slate. Phillip fouled outside the three-point arc. Let's look at their schedule. Road trip to Virginia Tech. Be an ACC game over there in Blacksburg. Then conference play begins, Coach.
Right at Kansas State, but don't look past Virginia Tech. I mean, Buzz Williams has his team playing with high energy. The talent is starting to filter in. Virginia Tech, they have a really good player on their roster right now by the name of Justin Bibbs, a left-handed guy who can shoot it. That won't be an easy game. All
those games, of course, on ESPN networks. In fact, I'll be in Blacksburg for the call now and looking forward to seeing what
if you
improved Hokies look like.
Yeah, and if you think about it, in some way, that's a perfect trap game because it's the first game before Big 12 play. Maybe looking past the team that's not ranked. Pick near the bottom of the ACC. Now, I'm not talking about Huggins looking past them, but the players may.
Right.
So that could be a trap game for West Virginia.
Yeah, coming off the holiday break as well.
And coming off a blowout here right now against Eastern Kentucky.
Lead is 23. Nearly halfway through the second.
With that said, now the players are going to have probably their hardest practices on the Huggins because of what I just said.
It's at Paul Biancardi on Twitter.
Sorry, guys.
8 on the shot clock. Out of the motion offense, Hawkins has got to hurry. Fires it up. Count it. Javante Hawkins now with 16.
That's a big-time shot because he was guarded on that shot. And he was guarded by Jonathan Holton, 6'7", with enormous wingspan for West Virginia.
Well, Hawkins and the star of the show, Jarrell Rochelle, two of the top scorers in the country coming into tonight. Rochelle out with back spasms. Hawkins living up to his end of the bargain so far. The last Colonel's basket, and this is the one that Hawkins just heaves.
Well, a little trying to create some space. West Virginia doesn't give you any. That's called making a tough shot. When guys practice those in the backyard, at the playground, at the Y, at the gym, little AAU ball pull-up. Three-point shot right there.
You're going to see that a lot. Concrete. Guys trying to improve their game. Here's Williams, just 5 points tonight.
Well, he's been doubled. Every time he touches the ball in the post, sees two defenders, he's done a good job of throwing it out. That's how West Virginia has gotten, Roy, some of their threes from the inside-out game.
And Hawkins tried to clear out the defender, called for the personal. It'll be his third.
You just get bothered enough by West Virginia that you feel the need to use your hands to just get some space.
It gets in your head.
It does. I said this earlier. Their press and their pressure makes you think and makes you think twice.
Williams baseline. Now with 8 points to go along with 4 boards.
Well, it's nice to see Devin Williams make that jump shot. In high school, a great inside player. Here at West Virginia, he's been a double-double guy. Bob Huggins says he's our hardest worker.
Has started the season with 5 consecutive double-doubles. Hawkins a little shake and bake. Bab Harrison outside for 3. That was a nice looking sequence.
Eastern Kentucky with the drive, the kick, the spot up. They can make a couple of stops and make a couple of threes. Cut this lead quickly.
Holton and Williams down low, the whistle blown. And the foul against the Mountaineers.
West Virginia has this game under control unless they start taking a bunch of bad shots, getting real sloppy on offense, and stop defending the 3. All those 3 things could happen.
Quickly ahead to Hawkins as King down low, and he'll pull it out.
Smart by the senior.
Bab Harrison now with 10 points. Twist inside DeMeo, offensive foul.
Devin Williams has improved each and every year under Bob Huggins. Offensively, look at the defense. Way outside the restricted arc. This guy stays after practice, works on his free throws. He does an offensive rebounding tip drill, trying to work on his range, which we've seen tonight from 17.
Yeah.
Invest time into your game, pays off.
Williams again This time comes up short. Yeah, Bob Huggins told us that he is the first in the gym and basically lives inside this arena.
And one of the last to leave.
Bab Harrison now with 13.
Likes that right spot, doesn't he?
And Paul, Eastern Kentucky now right at its season average with 9 made threes on just 18 attempts without its leading three-point shooter.
I know West Virginia has control of this game, but when a team can make threes and they're not afraid to take them, you get a little nervous as a coach.
6 straight field goals converted by Eastern Kentucky. 9 to shoot. Inside to Williams, the power finish.
Love the patience by West Virginia. They know who to go to, and they found out when to go to him. Feed the big fella. Devin Williams on the block. Power dribble. Possible and one.
ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball is brought to you by K Jewelers. Every kiss begins with K.
Back in Morgantown, all Mountaineers. 20-point lead against Eastern Kentucky. Paul Biancardi, Roy Philpott, glad you could join us tonight. And the future will remain bright for the Mountaineers. Paul, as you as the director of recruiting for ESPN.com, they've got plenty of talent coming in. Mache Bender, Sagaba Kanote, all kinds of talent in the next cycle.
And sometimes Bob Huggins gets some top 100 guys, and sometimes he gets others right outside the top 100, and he turns them into 5-star guys. Bender can be an impact player here at West Virginia. Highly skilled, 6'11", can shoot it, can pass with great instincts. Kanate, outstanding athlete. You have an athlete at 6'11", who can rebound and block shots. You have a skilled guy in Bender. That front court is going to be terrific in the future for West Virginia.
And talking with Coach Huggins and his staff today, it also feels like, Paul, they're looking for a certain brand of toughness in their players that sign here in Morgantown. This team certainly has it. Those recruits do as well.
Yeah, obviously you look for talent, you look for skill, you look for athleticism. Bob Huggins told me today the one thing I look for outside of that is enthusiasm. Guys that love to play, love to compete. He said, I'm not easy to play for, and the season's long, so you better love the game.
Yeah, but you can tell just in his interactions with his players.
Oh, they love him.
him.
They love him. They all came up and fist bumped him and chest bumped him and shoot around and what's up, Coach Hugs. I mean, every team that Bob Huggins has coached, he has great relationships with his players. You know, they call back, they come back. You know, he gives them a little leeway to be who they are, and they get better.
Hawkins, too strong, and the rebound pops out to Phillip, who steps out. Meanwhile, Devin Williams with 13 and 5, so his point total starting to increase. And the numbers for Bob Huggins, his 9th season. We mentioned the 2010 appearance in the Final Four. Stops at Akron, Kansas State, of course, Cincinnati. You mentioned he's going to be a surefire Hall of Famer.
I believe so. I mean, you know, I was at Ohio State, and we went head-to-head with Coach Huggins in recruiting, and we won some, but I think we lost more. And when you watched him recruit, I mean, he's on the trail. He's relentless. He knows what he wants in a player. He wants that competitor. He wants that tough guy. He built Cincinnati. They were in the ashes when he got the job and built them into a Final Four team.
Well, those teams, so much fun to watch. Some of those deep runs.
And the Kenyon Martins of the world.
One of my favorite college players, just a guy that always attacked the rim. Devin Williams called for the personal.
Son of a coach, Bob Huggins. His dad, Charlie, a high school coach in Ohio.
Of course, he played here at West Virginia as well. Now back to live action, approaching 6 minutes to play. West Virginia well on its way to securing its 10th win in 11 tries this year.
And Huggins is coaching a different way. He talked about that at shoot-around. He never gave up layups at Cincinnati. In fact, you know, You'd bite your head off if you gave up a layup
Get
back
benched
then.
for the season back then, would you?
But now it's part of the pressure. It's part of the press. It's part of the tempo. He still doesn't like it, but he understands when other teams score quick, he gets to push the ball up the floor. He gets to score quick and set up his pressure. And sometimes when you trap and you gamble, you're going to give up some easy baskets.
And just based off of our conversations with him the last couple of weeks, I think he likes the hand that he's been dealt this year with this team. I think the trick is to cut down on the turnovers.
Yes.
Get some of his offensive guys more engaged, attacking the rim with more regularity. The defense is going to be there.
And, you know, they're a pretty good shooting team, but their percentages were bad coming into this game from three. Not so much because of the shots. Bad passes.
And the deep three, that was Dexter Miles Jr. The contact.
You know, Roy, if you throw a pass to me at my ankles, it's going to be hard for me to make that shot. And some of the passing going on earlier this year, you think about it, there were a couple of turnovers and a couple of missed shots. You see that foul on that jump shot.
That's a fourth, by the way, on Hawkins.
If you think about it, there are a couple of turnovers and a couple of missed shots away from being undefeated. And they played a great first half against Virginia. The second half, it was their offense that let them down, not their defense.
That game had a tournament feel to it as well. You got to think that he's going to instill some different things into his team based off that game the next time another matchup like that appears.
Now, Tony Bennett, I mean, his team come out firing in the second half. They didn't turn it over as much. They shot, I think it was 70% from the field and 60% from threes. But West Virginia couldn't score in the second half. And when you can't score, you can't set up your press. You don't get fouled, you can't set up your press.
Miles now with 11 points tonight. Sophomore out of Baltimore. Started every game of his Mountaineers career. And more full court pressure. This time Jackson will break it ahead to Hawkins. McClone for three. That's his shot, too strong. And a nice job by King on the offensive glass as Hawkins has it blocked out of bounds. Bob Huggins always coaching. That's what he likes to do, of course, but even with this kind of advantage, one that West Virginia has maintained for most of the night, there's no backing down, Paul.
Well, he's coaching right now for practice. He's coaching for the next game, and he's coaching for the season. There's always something your team can do better, Roy, and Bob Huggins knows that. He understands it, and he demands it.
You never coached a perfect game, did you?
Nobody ever has, but you try to. He's trying to teach his guys lessons for when they get in Big 12 play, when they get in the Big 12 conference tournament. You know, it's all about developing habits. That's how you become a good team.
Mayo turns it over. Here comes Miles. West Virginia still with the starting lineup on the floor. And there's the finish by Carter. Carter now in double figures with 11. This ties the largest lead for the Mountaineers. Under 5 to play. Deep three Hawkins. Front iron.
Well, you asked me about the defense of West Virginia. No let up here in the second half, even in the half court. They're contesting those threes. And that's what Huggins is looking for.
Skip pass. Carter.
Tell you what, Devin Williams recognizes a double team, the quick throw out. He's not throwing it out to the same side of the floor. He's skipping it opposite to his teammate who's wide open. Great recognition by Devin Williams.
Very humble, very hungry player. And the best is yet to come for Devin Williams, junior from Cincinnati.
What a high school career he had at Mount Verde his senior year. They won the Dix Nationals. He had D'Angelo Russell, Ben Simmons. Casey Hill. I mean, he was loaded team.
Ben Simmons at LSU. You surprised that LSU hasn't gotten off to a faster start? Obviously, everybody's still learning with that kind of talent.
I am. I expected them to win some games that they lost, like most people.
Right.
And you don't know if it's chemistry or if it's a defensive breakdown. Ben Simmons is learning how to play with his new teammates, and they're learning how to play with him.
Take some time.
It does take some time. But right now, I'd classify them as somewhat of a disappointment.
Yeah, started the season ranked inside the top 25. A couple of bewildering losses. West Virginia in the midst of a 10-0 run. Break out once again to this 28-point advantage. Williams another rebound now with 8 to go along with 13 points. After just joining us, West Virginia trailed early 12-8. It's an 18-1 run that changed the complexion of the game. Eastern Kentucky without its star Jarrell Rochelle due to back spasms. And the Colonels will be shooting free throws when we come back. West Virginia ranked 19th in the country in search of win number 10 and well on their way here in Morgantown.
Alabama's Retin Obashahan, born in Belgium. He's averaging 18.5 over his last 4. Alabama and Oregon in Birmingham at the top of the hour. Roy?
Anish, thank you very much. Obashahan off to a fast start for Avery Johnson in year 1 in T-Town. And back here in Morgantown, the lead is 28 for number 19, West Virginia. With Paul Biancardi, glad you could join us tonight. And a reminder, Tuesday on ESPN, Capital One Bowl Mania rolls on as we've got the famous Idaho Potato Bowl, Akron and Utah State. That's at 3:30. Then it's 7 Eastern. Number 24 Temple and Toledo in the Marmot Boca Raton Bowl. Truly is the most wonderful time of the year. Both games also streaming live on Watch ESPN.
Temple. When I was in the Big East, Temple was in the Big East for football. They couldn't win a game. Who's coaching that team?
Well, you talk about what the job that Matt Rule did, and then also this season, the regular season, P.J. Walker, quarterback, nearly pulled off the upset against Notre Dame. It's still a heck of a season for the Owls.
It's been decades since they have won in football at that level, if ever. Maybe John Chaney's on the staff. I don't know.
Mark Macon playing quarterback. Pepe Sanchez is a wide receiver.
All I know is they got a heck of a basketball coach right now in Fran Dunphy.
No doubt. I thought I'd get some love for the Macon Sanchez reference. That's pretty good.
Not bad.
Okay.
Not bad for a guy who's 25.
All Mountaineers tonight. 10 made three-pointers, 9 in the first half, led by Jayshawn Page with 17. All those points scored in the first 20 minutes as well. And Page not on the court now, so no chance to break his career high of 19, perhaps.
Well, the good thing he's on the bench because Coach Huggins is giving guys playing time, not because he's in foul trouble. That's been a problem for Jayshawn Page.
Phillip, after the dump off, back iron. Mayo collects. So I'm going to put you on the spot one more time with this West Virginia team.
Well, good. Now, don't put me on the spot with the college football playoff, please.
The fact that they were picked 6 in the Big 12 preseason poll, I think both of us believe they could be a little bit better than that, maybe a lot better by the time it's all said and done. Inside the basket for Weaver. Pick 6. We're thinking they could go up to maybe 4 or 3.
4.
4.
But don't forget, the reason they're 6th, pick 6th, Jawan Staten's gone.
Right.
He was there everything.
Sure.
They didn't turn it over with him. He could lead the offense, make a shot. He was a playmaker. He was a steady hand for Bob Huggins. Now they do it more by committee. Javon Carter turning into a point guard a little bit more. Daxter Miles learning how to handle it.
Williams turning into a jump shooter.
Well, I wouldn't go that far. But this team may be better than last year. I know they went to the Sweet 16. They may win more games. They can get to the Sweet 16 again. But they're going to have to gel in the backcourt in terms of spacing, passing, and making shots.
Mayo baseline. That's one of the reasons he's been the OVC Freshman of the Week 4 occasions this year. 9.6 rebounds tonight. The freshman from Oakland, Maine.
You know, when you look at polls, they're usually based on what? Who you lost and who you got coming back. Are they ever based on coaches? How well they develop their team and their players? You know a Bob Huggins team is going to be always a little bit better than one thinks.
Yeah, 10 of the last 13 seasons here in Morgantown, West Virginia has exceeded the preseason expectations, so that's been an ongoing trend. Well, they call this the year of the senior in college basketball. So much different talent to examine and overanalyze. The top 5 seniors, according to our good friend Dino Gaudio. Denzel Valentine, of course, out for the next 2 to 3 weeks after undergoing minor knee surgery. Talk about the Big 12, George Niang, one of the top playmakers out there, Perry Ellis as well at Kansas. Malcolm Brogdon in the ACC with Virginia. But what about the other co-ACC Player of the Year? Another senior from right down the road, Tobacco Road, Marcus Page.
Dino,
come on.
Former ACC head coach. Where's Marcus Page in that list? We're calling you out. Since he's been back, Marcus Page, 5 games, straight double figures. I mean, he has to be at his best all year for Carolina to stay on top in the ACC and to make that deep run. Page is going to have to be on his game. He's got a great supporting cast. Joel Berry has really stepped up in his absence when he was hurt. I love Justin Jackson. I think he's fantastic. Meeks is out right now, but you have Isaiah Hicks. You have Bryce Johnson. I mean, there's a ton of talent, athleticism, and you talk about a team that loves to run off of makes, miss, turnovers. It's North Carolina.
Well, you think about Meeks just as an outlet passer, igniting those fast breaks in Chapel Hill.
I mean, they just
they got to stay healthy, though, Paul. You know, that's been an issue for Page at times.
Yeah, that's for all
Meeks.
teams. Yeah, but they just destroyed UCLA. I mean, 89-76. Tough loss at Texas. How about that win against Maryland for North Carolina?
Terps were number 2 in the country at the time.
That game, you play North Carolina, the games in the 80s, you're in trouble.
Steal by Myers with the finish. Myers with 5 points tonight, twice his season average. The junior college transfer from Brooklyn.
Speaking of North Carolina, I'd love to see them against West Virginia. How about that game? 2 teams that run off the turnovers, run off the steals. It would be an all-out track meet. West Virginia, North Carolina.
Myers picking the pocket here.
You go to jail for that in some cities. But you know, no foul, clean pick, right to the rim. You always have to be alert on offense when you play West Virginia. There is no rest.
Now the Colonels will live to fight another day without their star Jarrell Rochelle and also KJ Bluford, who was suspended tonight for a violation of team rules. You get those 2 guys back. And once conference play begins, we picked 3rd in the East Division of the OVC behind Belmont and Morehead State. Remember, Paul, too, they took a summer tour down to Australia, so this team's got some chemistry. The first-year head coach with Dan McHale, but they will be a very difficult out in the OVC.
Dan McHale hired some great assistant coaches. He has Michael Bradley to his left, former player at Villanova, NBA player, a guy I recruited out of Boston, Massachusetts. Reese Gaines, former great player at Louisville. Strong staff.
Under a minute to play, 3 on the shot clock. Here's another turnover. Don't forget Oregon, Alabama coming up as soon as we're done here in Morgantown.
Got that game tonight, Oregon, Alabama. Top 15 class by Avery Johnson as well. Terrence Ferguson, top 10 player, and they have Braxton Key from Oak Hill. Avery Johnson getting it done quickly at Alabama.
Upcoming schedule for the 8-5 Colonels. They'll fall to 8-6 after this loss.
But nothing to hang their head about at all. I mean, those are all winnable games. This game, you were down 2 players coming in, including your best player, Jarrell Rochelle. That's a winnable schedule for Eastern Kentucky.
We've seen Belmont a couple of times and Morehead State the last few years, and this EKU squad. There's going to be some entertaining conference games starting here in just about a week and a half.
Well, if you got Belmont and Eastern Kentucky, you're looking at about 45 threes attempted in that game. Rick Byrd, Spreads you out, spaces you out, loves to shoot the three.
Well, I like Bob Huggins. Just great talking basketball with Rick Byrd.
It was today. He said it best. I'm a coach's coach. He cares about every possession and every player on his team.
Weaver for three. Shot clock is off. The rebound by Richard Romeo III. And as time winds down, that'll just about do it. Big win for the Mountaineers as West Virginia, ranked 19th in the country, improves to 10-1. Eastern Kentucky falls to 8-6. Our final score, 84-59. Leading the charge, Devin Williams, Jay Sean Page. Now let's send you to Anish Shroff and Adrian Branch back in the studio.